So a very good evening to all of you. Thank you so much for taking your time on a Saturday evening to come join us for Overcoming Hurdles. My name is Parami. I'm going to be your host this evening, and Chatushka here will be your moderator. So before we start, I would just like to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, Milo Sri Lanka. And we have a couple of commercials that we will be playing right before we start our proceedings.
අම්මා කියනවා පෝෂණය පටන් ගන්න ඕනේ ගෙදරින් කියලා. අම්මේ විටමින් B පෝෂණය දෙන්න උදව් වෙන්නේ මගේ මයිලෝනේ. මගේ යක්කෙත් ඇක්ටිව් වෙන්න. මගේ ෆේවරිට් මයිලෝ තාත්තිටත්.
විටමින් B කොකෝවා මොල් සාරය දේශීය නැවුම් එළකිරිවල පෝෂණයෙන් සපිරි විශ්වාසනීය මයිලෝ.
ගෙදරින් අරගෙන පෝෂණයෙන් ඉදිරියට.
From Nestle. අද තරුවන්ගේ ලෝකේ හරිම තරඟකාරී. වේගවත්. අපි හිතනවටත් වඩා. දුවට අරමුණු දිනා ගන්න. එයාගේම දක්ෂතාවය අභිබවා යන්න. දවස පටන් ගනිද්දිම අවශ්‍ය සමබර පෝෂණයට මයිලෝ දායක වෙන බව මේ අම්ම නම් හොඳින්ම දන්නවා.
දරුවාගේ ප්‍රතිශක්තිකරණ පද්ධතිය මානසික ක්‍රියා සහ අස්ථි නිසි පරිදි පවත්වා ගැනීමට දායක වෙන විටමින් C යකඩ සහ කැල්සියම් අඩංගු මයිලෝ සමගින් පෝෂණයෙන් ඉදිරියට.
Good food, good life.
That was our sponsor, Milo Sri Lanka. So without further ado, I will just hand over the controls to Chatushka because Shelinda is also here. She will be joining us in just a minute. Right, there we go. So Chatushka, you can go ahead and start.
Great, thanks Parami. So a very warm welcome to all our panelists that have queued in. We have an inclusive and diverse, young and vibrant panel today, so it's an absolute pleasure and privilege for me to moderate this discussion on overcoming hurdles. As you know, the pandemic has been a complete black swan event, unprecedented in nature, that has had global implications that no one absolutely imagined. Sports is one industry that was disrupted due to this crisis, and athletes, no doubt, have had challenging times navigating through this time period. Interestingly, we have 6 young, vibrant, inspirational personalities that have achieved greater heights by making various sacrifices in their respective personal careers, sharing their perspectives today, which we all look forward to. A big shout out to our exclusive partner, Milo, for organizing this webinar. A brief about Milo. Milo is Nestle's world's leading chocolate malt beverage made from fresh milk collected from thousands of local Sri Lankan farmers, the goodness of malted barley and high-quality cocoa beans, enriched with essential vitamins and minerals. Milo supports the normal immune function, provides energy-yielding metabolism, supports learning and concentration, supports normal function of muscle and normal development of bones and teeth. Embarked on the journey to establish Nourish to Go Further, Milo has been at the forefront of supporting school sports from grassroots levels for over 30 years. Inspiring young talent, Milo has been able to encourage thousands of kids to be physically active and support many promising athletes in their careers. So before we commence this much anticipated webinar, there are a few ground rules that I wish to bring to your attention. For our audience, for questions, please post questions in the comments section and it shall be read out to the panelists. If your question has been already answered during discussion, kindly refrain from reposting the same question again. To our vibrant, young, inspirational panelists, I shall be reading out the questions and giving the opportunity to each panelist to share their own perspective. There will be general questions directed to have the perspective of all 6 panelists and simultaneously more specific sport-related questions directed to each one of you. A time slot of 5 minutes will be allocated for answering, responding to each question. Appreciate your kind cooperation towards the adherence of time. Introducing our inspirational personalities that have achieved greater heights. Ms. Shelinda Jansen, she's an athlete, she's the fastest sprinter in Asia, 9th in the world. Good evening, Shelinda. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, good evening.
Mr. Hassan Esufally, he's an athlete, first Sri Lankan in history to run a marathon on all 7 continents. Good evening, Hassan. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Mr. Shehan Ambepitiya is an athlete currently known as the fastest man in South Asia. Good evening, Shehan. Thank you for joining this webinar. Mr. Akalanka Peiris, Youth Olympic swimmer and national record holder. Good evening, Akalanka. Thank you for joining
Good
this
evening.
webinar. Ms. Yashoda De Silva, national diving champion. Good evening, Yashoda. Thank you for joining this webinar. Mr. Sudharshana Muthuthanthri, captain Sri Lanka national rugby union team. Good evening, Sudharshana. Thank you for joining this webinar. Great. So let's dive straight into the questions. So COVID-19 alone is a hurdle that we've had to overcome. How do you think of the present situation due to the COVID-19 virus outbreak, which has had global implications across industries? How is the sports industry affected compared to other industries? You may base your response on the sport you have excelled in, giving consideration to the sport at grassroots level as well as at an international level. I'd like to start with Shelinda, if I may.
Well, this time has been a challenging time for all of us, and especially as an athlete, it has been like a huge issue for me because I've been wanting to represent Sri Lanka, and I lost a lot of chances this year because of COVID coming in. But I hope that now things are kind of going back to normal. So I'm just hoping for the best. Everyone's hoping for the best because we all have a lot in store. So it has been a challenging time, but I've been coping up with it. Yeah.
That's great. Positive all the way along. Shehan?
Yeah, just I think yeah, it has affected like all over the world. So it's something we all have to accept. The fact is that we can't train properly, or there are any more competitions. So, but what I think is that there'll always be an end to everything, right? So COVID is, I think it's almost done here in Sri Lanka. So now I think, as an example, Shelinda, I think she has already started her training. But the only thing is like we don't have any competitions for this year. But then again, we have next year. It's just a few more months away. And yeah, obviously next year we have Olympic Games as well. And next year we have like a few major competitions and games. So yeah, we should accept the fact that COVID has disturbed all of us, even for the international athletes as well. But then again, we have to get ready for the next year. So,
thank you for that feedback. Yeah. Akalanka?
Yeah, so it's hard, yeah. For all, it's the common thing because like we have like faced like everyone is in the same condition, so we just have to adapt, like adaptability, right? So like we just have to. So basically, what I did was like I trained. We didn't have pools or anything, so I did land training at home, and like I didn't like. I was facing like I was taking that advantage for build up my physical fitness. So because it's the same condition, like we all have to face it. And as Shehan told, like we have a next year also. So without wasting our time, like it's better to use that time properly and build up our fitness and all. So yeah.
Thank you, Akalanka. Yashoda?
Well, it has been so difficult, It's like, the whole world began to shut down, and, you wake up every day to a new damaging report. So around like end of March, we stopped training, and I had a competition coming up in April. It was the World Cup. And, it was a very stressful time, especially like not knowing if the games were going to get postponed, or, if we had to be ready in case it didn't. So the first couple of weeks were very stressful. But then, when they finally decided that they were going to postpone it, it was kind of a relief, because, then you can like stop stressing about it and then get everything back together and, sort of form a new game plan. So, I'm trying to keep positive and always not think about the negative side of it. So, as hard as it can be, this is also like a great opportunity because we can train harder and, face like our challenges, the challenges that are going to come. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you for sharing that perspective.
Yeah, I mean, like the others said as well, it's been a challenging time, a difficult time. However, I try to look at it very positively, and I just adapted and changed my training to deal with the situation. A lot of land-based and home-based training instead of going out. I'm fortunate I have a treadmill at home, and for running marathons, you just basically need a treadmill and bodyweight training. Fortunately, you don't need some of the things that I'm fortunate that you don't need a pool or a track like some of you guys need, or a field. Basically I did training at home, and also I think it gave a lot of people around me and myself included the time to do other things, like time to take online courses and use that time effectively to train your mind, do meditations, do visualizations, and do other kind of practices that not just help train your body but train your mind for future goals as well. So I mean, my races have been cancelled for this year. I mean, I'm kind of goalless, but I'm still training and I'm looking forward. I'm just enjoying the process, really. So, yeah.
Great, Hassan. You highlighted a very important point in terms of mind agility as well. So thank you for that insight. Muthu?
So where do I begin? So for us, the COVID situation hit us right in the middle of the season, like at the end of the season. So it was like a full stop into the season for us. And as an athlete and a rugby player in Sri Lanka, we play right throughout the year. So we play 7s and 15s, both formats of the game. And I thought this was the best time for us to like recover and like get our bodies ready for whenever the season was going to start next. So right now there is a positive side to it for us, because the season, they said that they'll be starting in Jan next year. So we have something to look forward for competition as well. And the school season was also halted because of the COVID situation. And I feel really bad for the schoolboys who were going to play their last year at school as well, because they would have been really hopeful of the season. So that's how it goes. So basically just prepare your body and just mind to, recover and get ready for the season ahead. And also like Hassan said, we had a lot of time to like do other things, especially because we've been like focused right throughout the year on rugby. So we just had a lot of family time and just spending time at home basically and just chilling. So that was what.
Thanks, Muthu, for your feedback. My next question, I'd like to direct it to Shehan. Along with sports, you find it difficult to balance their academics as well as their social life. How do you become a well-rounded individual? What are the factors you need to consider? Share your own experience. Besides being known as the fastest man in South Asia, you do hold academic credentials, you do hold a degree as well as a master's in business administration, and you're currently functioning in a leading media institute as a senior marketing executive as well. So base your response on that, please.
It's like this. When we say that, let's say I'm an athlete, when I go to society, I'm sort of a role model. There are a lot of people who would like to follow me, who'd like to listen what I tell, and you're sort of a leader in the society. So what I believe is even if you go for the Olympics, if you're not educationally qualified enough, I think you're just worthless. So I actually learned that from my school, from Gateway. Our chairman sir has always told us that you should always balance both the sports and studies. Even if you do like really well in sports, there's always a full stop for your career. So once you're done with your sports career, you should be have something with you. You should always have something in your pockets. So what I believe is if you're your studies really well, and when you're done with your sporting career, one day if you have something now, let's say if you're education qualified, then I think you can go to society, become a role model, and also you can start the second chapter of your life. So I used to be an athlete for 16 years, and I retired in last year. So now I'm an retired athlete. So what I thought was like, okay, now I'm done with my athletics career. Now what shall I do? But then again, I was planning for the retirement 4 years ago. So I was getting ready for this day. It was like one of the most difficult days when it comes to your retirement. But then again, I was ready for that day. I was done with my degree and also the MBA. So as soon as I retired from the athletics, I could find a good job, and I could, start writing the second chapter of life. So I think what I believe is, if you have the will, you can do whatever you want. So I always had the will that, and I always want to become an example to everyone that it's possible to balance both the sports and studies. So I think I could show it to most of the people that who didn't believe that it is possible to balance these two extremes. They always say that, okay, it's very difficult to study when you do athletics, like when you do sports, especially. You have training and then you have to study. But I went through all of them. While I was studying, I went to the international competitions, won a lot of medals for our country as well. So what I believe is, if you're confident enough and if you have the will, you can achieve anything.
Thanks, Shehan. Proud of you. Very insightful and inspiring. Thank you for sharing that. Moving on to my next question, I'd like to direct it to Hassan. We all fear of failing. Thus, often we do not tend to go beyond our comfort zone. How to conquer fear of failing? Base your response on the experience of the Ironman competition.
Well, I mean, I think that it's important to have a mindset where you don't fear failure, and you realize that failure is a prerequisite to success. And I can tell you this in my personal experiences, for each one of my successes, I've had about 10 failures leading up to those. It's just that I've always succeeded on top of the failure. In regard to the Ironman, for those of you who are not familiar with it, it's a 3.86 kilometer swim, a 180 kilometer bike ride, and a full marathon run done back to back to back with a 17-hour time cutoff, and then individual time cutoffs for the swim, the bike, and the run. So if you don't finish each one in the individual time cutoffs, you're not even allowed to get on to the next step. So, there were plenty of failures during the Ironman. Like during the swim, there was really choppy waters and it was raining and it was cold. It was difficult to see, but I just told myself in my mind, I had visualized myself succeeding and doing the course many times prior to actually doing it. I had done the work in the training, so I was able to finish the swim reasonably okay. On the bike, I had vomited 5 times on the bike. I had cramps at my bike. I fell off the bike at one time. I was delirious. Because you're cycling for 180 kilometers, it's longer than some stages in the Tour de France. So it's quite difficult. And then you've done a swim before that as well. And then you've got a marathon to run at the end of it. So you really, I think that you just got to embrace the difficult times and realize that at the other side of it, there's greatness, and there's something that everyone can achieve. It's not just a select few who have the ability to achieve impossible goals or audacious goals. Anyone can do it. You just have to tap into the mind and believe that you want it bad enough, put in the work, and I guess embrace failure and realize that it's part and parcel of it. And the only way to succeed is by failing multiple times. And it's not just in sport, it's with everything. It's with education, like Shehan said, it's with other extracurricular goals that you have. It's with whatever goals, like travel goals, fitness goals, career goals, financial goals. You just got to keep believing and keep improving. So that's my take on it.
Great perspective, engrossing and captivating indeed. Next, I'd like to direct my question to Muthu. I know, Muthu, you did touch on the school's rugby league as well, so I'll base my question on that. COVID-19 was spreading and escalating just after the commencement of the school's rugby league, as you rightly pointed out. Considering the recommencement of the school's rugby league and competition, possibly towards the latter part of the year, based on my readings, it's still not confirmed. You can verify it in your response. It could be a hurdle with the ordinary level and advanced level academic examinations that students must face parallelly. Do you reckon the priorities will shift, and how do you maintain same level of intensity and focus? How do you uplift the levels of motivation and bring back momentum?
I think schools have been training. Like I have been talking to school the coaches right now, and they have said that they have not stopped training. They have been training, but because of the clash of the A-level examinations that the boys and girls have to face, and it's just that the clash and the timings of it is not very precise. They wanted to start in September, but then again, then they pushed it forward to November again. So there's no set date on it. So what I would say is that obviously studies, like Shehan said, it's priority as well, like sports when you're a school athlete, not a professional athlete. So I think the students have to find a balance between both and find time to like make sure to prioritize what they need to do in order for them to succeed. It's just that rugby, obviously, it's a tough sport. You have to be conditioned right throughout the year to play the sport. You can't just get out of bed and start playing rugby. So because you might get injured. So it's a contact sport, right? We all know that. So I think it's just that you have to make sure that you are continuously training as well, and at the same time, just make sure you're into your books and you're keeping up to date with whatever happens in class. So that's what's up there.
Thanks, Muthu. Next, I'd like to direct my question to Akalanka and Yashoda. Safety is the utmost priority at present. What are some of the safety measures undertaken at your respective swimming club or academy regarding PPEs and also social distancing? And also, can the virus survive or be transmitted in correctly fluorinated swimming pool water? I'd like to start with Akalanka. Yeah.
Okay. So yes, so we do have that procedures and all. So when we come to the pool, like we have to wear a mask and all, and we use the hand sanitizers also before getting to the pool and have a good bath. And yes, and when we are swimming, like we used to swim like lane, like 3-4 swimmers right now, and only the senior athletes, not the junior athletes also. So, and in terms of that chlorinated thing, I'm not pretty sure about that, but because I don't have like any clues of it, because I know chlorine destroys the germs and all, but in scientific terms, I'm not pretty sure about that, because like it can be like, because we are not always doing the cool stuff, because we have to communicate with each other, we have to motivate with each other. So I think up to a certain level we can prevent that, but I don't think it's 100% accurate because of the virus. But before we get into the pool, like if we limited the swimmers or the whatever sport, like the athletes, and we do that wearing the mask and using the sanitizers and all, so I think we can prevent those things. But yeah, that would be positive. Yeah.
That's a valid and open perspective that you shared, Akalanka. Yashoda?
Well, unfortunately, I'm not training at the moment because in Melbourne, we're on lockdown still. But during June, end of June, we started training, and for about 3 to 4 weeks. And during that time, we had to get tested before, and before we started going, entering the pool, they checked our temperature and stuff like that. But as Akalanka said, I'm also not sure about the chlorine thing. But other than that, we do our training sessions in small groups. Not everyone goes together, and in diving, it's like you have to do the dive and then come out of the pool. It's not always inside the pool, so we have to keep our distance. And even during dry land sessions, there were lots of cleaning we had to do. So yeah, it was good. But now we're always having our training sessions on Zoom, just like our fitness sessions. Strength training, that's about it. But yeah, we don't have the access to go to a pool. So hopefully it'll be better and we'll get to go soon.
Thanks, Yashoda. So I'll just ask a follow-up question to that. Swimming, it's difficult to integrate it with digital technology, but you did mention that you're having trainings via Zoom. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we just, yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah. How effective is it? Yeah.
We just have strength training. So just to be fit, that's about it. For dry land, I personally, I came to Australia last year. So I don't have the equipments like some other girls like, mattresses at home or stuff like that. So I just found a mattress at home. So, and I'm doing some somersaults there. And so yeah, that's about it. Like, we just do some co-exercises on Zoom. And yeah, like it's not the same thing like you're training in a pool, but you're just trying to stay fit, but like, sometimes, for Christmas we get like around 2 to 3 weeks off. And then when you get back to the pool, you're just like, oh, I forgot everything. Like, you just kind of freak out, right? And now, like, I can't even imagine going back to the pool after like, what, 5 months. So, and yeah, just stay focused.
So positive, that's great. So we've got a live audience connected to this webinar, and there's an audience-related question that has been raised, and that's to Muthu. It's raised by Danu. How does one find motivation in doing sport when it's hard to make it a future plan, within brackets, not cricket, in our own country? And what's the long-term plan when you are in a sport, and how is the support?
That's a really great question and a very diverse question, I would say. Like Akalanka said earlier, it's up to us to find the balance, I think, between when we are not like professionally paid like whatever the cricketers are getting or whatever. I'm not complaining here, I'm just saying. So it's just that you need to find a balance, and obviously you're really passionate about your sport, right? That's why you're great at it. In the same time, you need to find something else that you're really passionate about outside sport, so that you can fall back on, like after doing whatever, after you're done with your sporting career, right? So that's what I'm doing right now as well. So during COVID, what I realized is, since I had a lot of time on my hands, I just started my own health food cafe as well. So Celeste was that, with my friend Janik. So I'm into that, and I just started with that. So spending time on that. So basically what I want to say is, it's about what you're really good at or really passionate about, and that will help you survive that sort of thing.
Good response, Muthu, and thank you, Danu, for that question. It is indeed an interesting one. And also, Muthu, all the very best on your business endeavor with Janik. So my next question, I'd like to direct it to Shelinda. In terms of school sports, what are the measures taken by your school to continue athletes being active and not losing touch, losing the skill when it comes to their respective sport, maintaining the levels of enthusiasm, intensity, discipline, fitness and endurance, mental agility, and so forth? What are the measures taken by the school during these difficult time periods to motivate athletes such as you?
So this year was sort of unlucky year for me, because this is my last year representing my school, and I couldn't do that. I was supposed to captain the Gateway athletic team, but during this time, I saw how I'm also from Gateway, just as Shehan. So it was like a really hard time for our junior athletes. But what I saw was like our school really, like, they pushed the team. It was not only athletics, but coming into all the other sports, like Yashoda said, like it was the same for us. Like we had sessions which we had to participate through Zoom. So like throughout the maybe all these past 3-4 months, like we had to join all the sessions, and we did what's like possible, but it was kind of hard because we couldn't run in a track, and especially for me it was really hard, but I did what's possible. Every day we tried maintaining our strength, and like the small things which we like could do, we had to do. So I think like I said before, it was a challenging time, and the school supported us, especially Gateway, doctor and everyone else. Like they really supported us. They pushed us. They was checking up on each and every athlete. So yeah, that's what it
Thanks for
is.
that. Thanks for that positive response. My next question, I'd like to open it up for all panelists. What are the physical, mental, and social obstacles that are faced on the road to glory? There could be financial limitations, there could be disappointments in relationships and friendships, there could be health-related issues, it could be mental, it could be physical fatigue, there could be academic and career disappointments as well. So I'm opening up this question to all panelists. I'd like to start with Yashoda.
Well, you know, as athletes, we like face a lot of challenges, and COVID has been also a very major challenge for all of us, and for me especially, once I had to train without a coach. This was for Commonwealth Games trials. I didn't have a coach, so it was a very challenging time for me. I used to go to Sugardas pool with my mom in the morning, and I used to ask her to record myself and me diving. So I used to just look at myself and see where I went wrong, and then just correct myself and do it again. Like, so I used to go every morning with her, and she used to be my strength. She used to just tell me, it's okay, you can keep going. And it was really hard because, you know, not having a coach can be really stressful, and like you don't know what you're doing. And especially in diving, you need a coach to tell you where you are, like if you're going wrong, for you to call out for your entries. So yeah, it was really hard, but I did pretty well at the Commonwealth Game trials, and I got a spot at Commonwealth Games. So I was really proud of myself that I could do that. And yeah, like there are so many challenges you face, and not just that, like continuing a sport after school can be a challenge itself, you know, like especially in Sri Lanka, because the belief is that, you know, when you're done with school, you're done with your sport as well. So continuing a sport was really hard for me, but I had a really great support system. My family, my friends, everyone was there for me, pushing me to do my best. So that kept me going. So yeah, if you love your sport and if you have the passion to do it, nothing can really stop you from chasing your dreams and your goals.
Enlightening perspective, Yashoda. Passion is certainly the key word here. Akalanka?
Yeah, so if I tell my story, basically like we have training in the morning. So like we have to basically I come from Panadura, so I have to wake up at 3:30 in the morning, which is really hard. And getting into the bus at around 4 o'clock, getting in the pool at 4:50 to 7:30 training, and then after if I have lectures, I have to go that, and so 8 to 5 lectures. So, and not with the not in swimming, also like in balancing academic, because I recently stopped my school career. So but like I was out of social media, and you know, we had parties and all. I was a prefect, we had prefect days and all. I had to commit like a lot of things. I didn't go for any parties. If I go for any party, I had to like, you know, sacrifice that, because you know, like I can't go in Fridays or Saturdays. Basically, I can go in Saturday night because Sunday is off. Otherwise, I can't go. And if I go, I have to come back home at 9 o'clock, which is like a start of the party. So that's basic. And the social life, basically, I didn't have much time with my friends. I really regret that, because I was basically swimming in the morning and school classes. But I got the results. I got 9 years for my O-levels, and I did my A-levels within 6 months with Commonwealth Games and Asian Games. And I participated the Asian Games while writing the A-levels for the first time. So it was like mentally hectic season, because I had to go for an event in the morning, then after writing the paper, sleepy. And with regarding of diet, we had to like sacrifice a lot of like, you know, yummy food such as chocolates, soft drinks, nothing. Even if a burger, pizza, nothing. So it's like really hard. Like sometimes, for as example, for South Asian games, recent South Asian games, basically my plan is to stop those junk food before like 4 to 6 months. So when my family members or my friends eating those stuff, it's really hard to look at it. So yeah, those sacrifices, but in negative situations, that sacrifices help me a lot because there are like positives and negatives in the competition days. So the first day will be okay, the second day will be bit of okay, but third day, fourth day it will be hard. So in those times, I just think about the sacrifices I made, my family made. So and about the if I like get negative, okay, I did this, I didn't eat junk food, I sacrificed my like the whole social stuff and all. And with regard to financial stuff, it's really hard to get support financially from the, as example, from the government sector or whatever thing in Sri Lanka, because we don't get any marketing or sponsorships and all. Basic for swimming and I think rugger rides and cricketers are really lucky, they do get something, but I really appreciate that they are giving something someone, right? So but with regard to financial, my sponsors are my parents, so it's like kind of bit worried. I'm a bit worried about that, because if we get some financially or whatever support we need, like we can go to a higher level. As example, Matthew is 17th in the world, and I'm 21st in my world rank and 9th in the world junior world rank. So if I get bit of support, we can go to that other level, like a greater level. So and yeah, so the sacrifices you made, like the hurdles, that the obstacle that you get, take it as a positive. So you'll be able to achieve your targets and follow the dream. Basically, I just wrote down whatever time I need to get. Basically, I need to get qualified for Olympics this year, and I made the World Championship cut also in recent South Asian Games. But unfortunately, the Olympics was postponed and all. But yeah, I made a lot of sacrifices to up this point with regard to swimming, academics, and everything. So I got the results. So what I need to tell is, if you sacrifice and when you're focused for something else, when you focus for your target, you get it for sure. That's guaranteed. Yeah.
Thanks, Akalanka. That was an excellent perspective that you shared. Very well-rounded and holistic. You touched on many aspects, social as well as you touched on the aspect of diet as well. So that was a very insightful response again. Thank you for that. Shelinda?
So yeah, mentally, physically, and socially, it has been like a really difficult time for me, because I think I had to face a lot throughout this journey. I'm still a junior and I'm still starting. When I take my athletic career, there were times where I was all alone, and the only people that was by my side was my coach and my parents. I don't have to mention, but I think most of people know I had to go through a lot, during South Asian Games and all that. So people who know me might be knowing what I'm talking about. So like that, and also I am also a junior, and I'm just starting my higher studies now at Imperial College. So they've been helping me out, and I also had times where when we go on tours and when we go to represent Sri Lanka, so there were times where I was also alone, because my coach, they can't always be there for us when we go participate in international meets. So there were times where I was alone, where I had to train. I had to train alone. I was really scared, because if I take Youth Olympic Games, it was like a huge thing for me. Youth Olympic Games was in 2018, and I was third junior to run 24.7 seconds in the 200 meters after Susantika and Damayanti Darsha. So that time of my life was like a challenging time for me, because it was my first international meet, but I did not, because before Youth Olympic Games, I had to go through a lot. Like I had an injury, and so like that, I had small issues coming my way, and so because of that, it was like I was really scared. As a junior athlete, I was really scared to participate, and I was like, okay, so everyone's looking up to me. Sri Lanka is looking up to me. I had a big thing to do. But I was ranked 16th on the first stage, and I was lucky enough to come from 16th. I was ranked 9th in world as the junior athlete, and the fastest in Asia and South Asia. So that was like a challenging time, because no one was around me, and it was my first international meet. The only way that I had access to my parents and my coaches was calls on FaceTime. So like that, I think it's all about committing. It's all about commitment, dedication. There were times that I missed practices. There was plenty of times where I got scolded from my coaches, because I'm sort of like a bit like, I'm kind of lazy when it comes for practices. I knew this was coming for me, but yeah, I think it's all about committing yourself and sacrificing yourself. Like Akalanka said, I didn't like get to go out with the girls. I had to ditch them. I had to bail out. Every time my friends asked me to come out, no, I couldn't, because every day it's like Shehan knows, we used to train together. We used to train near the same coach, Mrs. Badra and Sir Sunil Gunawardana. So like we usually start training at 6:30. So from 6:30 to like 8:39 we have practices, and like it was like really hard for me to cope up with everything, studies and sports all together. So it's about sacrificing. I had to sacrifice a lot, and I think I'll be having to sacrifice more in future. So I'm just starting, but yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's worth it. Like it's really worth it. Trust me. At the end of the day, when we look back, I feel really proud about myself, and I feel like when I look back, okay, it was my past, but it was worth it. And when I see to my future, I feel there's like way more. And I see Olympics in front of my eyes. I see Asian Games in front of my eyes. So I think committing ourselves and dedicating sacrifices, everything's worth it at the end of the day when we look back. So yeah.
Inspiring indeed, Shelinda. Thank you for sharing that. All the very best in your higher studies as well.
Thank you.
Shehan?
I think Akalanka and Shelinda just brief basically how the routine of an athlete goes every day. And I would say that Akalanka is like one of the most disciplined athletes that I have ever last year. So he's quite a very disciplined athlete. I would say that being an athlete itself is a challenge. But the most beautiful thing is that I think athletes are gifted. I'm gifted in running fast. Akalanka is gifted in swimming fast, and then Yashoda is good at diving. Then Shelinda is fastest. Then Muthu is like really good at leadership, and Hassan is he's gifted with I would say stamina and endurance. So we are gifted. So we should be able to take up all those challenges. Otherwise, I wouldn't call ourselves athletes. So the more you become hungry for the victories. So I would say without a challenge in a day, I would call it a day. I like problems. I like challenges every day. Then only I can enjoy life. Then only you can find solutions, and then only you can become a fighter or a warrior and show others that how strong you are. So I always love challenges. And like Akalanka and Shelinda said, I also, like, for the past 16 years of my athletics career, I have never tasted Coca-Cola or anything, I have never tasted, because it affects my speed. So that's how disciplined an athlete, that's how we take challenges. So I would say that all of us should take challenges as opportunities. So I would always see opportunities in most of the challenges. Yeah, so basically that's how I look at challenges in a smaller picture.
It's a valid perspective indeed, and you touched on a very important factor of discipline. Hassan?
I mean, the others have pretty much summed up everything in terms of sacrifices needed. I just want to touch on a few other points. Definitely there's a social sacrifice in terms of spending time with your friends and family and doing the things, especially for an endurance athlete, because you're spending a lot of time doing things. You're spending like miles and hours and long days, like 10-hour days sometimes, just riding a bike or running for 5 hours, or doing a lot of things which requires obviously personal sacrifice in terms of opportunity costs of maybe doing something else, or spending time with your family, friends, going out. In terms of diet, like Akalanka said, there is a sacrifice. You have to eat right. You have to take the right nutrients, the proteins, fats, carbs, and understand how to do them. It's not very difficult once you get used to it. Fortunately, in my sport, it's okay to cheat a little bit. I have an 80-20% rule. So 80% of the time I eat really healthy. I eat 5 small meals a day. I do the right things, but out of those 35 meals, 7 small meals I'll eat, whatever I want, which keeps me sane and gives me okay. In terms of financial, which is the second point I want to touch on. Yes, it can be a strain sometimes, especially for an individual athlete. It can be a strain, but I think that you have to the way you can transcend that is by looking at examples like Kumar and Mahela. Like, I know them now, and I've been fortunate enough to learn from them. They have made themselves into brands. And I think that's important to do as an athlete, to be able to go to companies, approach them, use your personality, and try to get corporate speaking engagements, private sponsorship deals, use social media for good. I think today that is an added component, and I think that it is to an extent an essential component in today's world in order to differentiate yourself. In terms of the physical sacrifice, obviously there's a lot of physical sacrifice that goes without saying, that you have to put in the training, put in the hours, put in the time. But if you really understand why you're doing it, and you have a vision, like I have a vision board, like I have different goals that I said, like a physical goal, a mental goal, educational goal, a reading goal, travel goal, financial goal, career goal. I have all these goals and I write them down, and I write why I want to achieve each one. And in terms of sport, I definitely write down like several reasons why I want to achieve a goal even before I start. If you know what those reasons are in your heart and you have a strong why, then those sacrifices that you make, whatever they are, financial, social, whatever, they are worth it. They will be worth it if you understand why, because there will be difficult times. There's no doubt about it. In anything you do, like Shehan said, there are challenges in everything. There are, and you have to look at them as obstacles. Sudharshana also brought up some great points, and so did Shelinda, Akalanka, and Yashoda. Being an athlete is not easy, but anyone can be an athlete in their own way. You don't have to take it to the levels that perhaps all of us have, but everyone has the potential to do something important or great. For some, that can mean going to the gym 3 times a week, or for some it can mean just eating healthy throughout the week. But if you set these small goals and then eventually build up, you can achieve great things. And I think that then the sacrifice becomes innate. And I think that if you have a why and you understand why you're doing it, then everything's worth it.
A very unique perspective. Thanks, Hassan. Muthu?
So I think it's very unfair that you came to me on this question cast, because everything has been said right now. So I just wanted to speak on my personal experience based on my school journey towards transitioning towards club and then national. My first sport was never rugby. I played basketball till I was under 18. So my last 2 years, I transitioned into rugby just because my friends played the sport, because I wanted to spend time with them as well. So as a 59 kg kid, I never thought of going and playing for club and then going on to like representing nationals and captaining the country at the end. But like Hassan said, my why is very strong. It's just what I believe in, and my why is my family and my faith. I believe that everyone has been given talents by God, and everyone has been like put into different situations in life by God, and He doesn't give us problems that we can't overcome. So that's what I believe in truly. And from my school days, I think you might know, I was athletic, and I was really hardworking. I was more than talented. I think I was really hardworking towards it. And I was told by my first club that I wouldn't be allowed to play the position that I wanted to play. That was number 7 flanker, because you had to be heavy, and I was really skinny. So I had to spend like 3 months. In a like gym like all 6 days of the week, and stick to eating one thing the whole 7 days of the week. So I know what it is to go through like sacrifice, and and do the hard things. And those 1%ers adapt in the end. And like I said earlier, the why, if your why is strong and you're doing the things you're doing for the right reasons, I think at the end it just comes into fusion. So that's what my thing is. And especially when you talk about rugby, I do this. It's a team sport at the end. It's not individual. It wasn't at the standard that it is today in Sri Lanka. We had to work really hard to bring rugby into some sort of level in Sri Lanka, and just we are right behind cricket, I would say, in terms of financial support, because we have done the hard work, I would say, and we are in the Asian series. We are right behind Japan. And as everyone knows, Japan is a powerhouse in Asian rugby, and the infrastructure that goes into Japanese rugby. They have like a lot of support in terms of big companies coming and backing their clubs, and we are getting this. So I'm really grateful for the opportunities that we have as rugby players to go and represent Sri Lanka in international level. That's why I said earlier, I'm not complaining about anything, but I really understand the hard work that goes into making a team sport a top-notch international outfit. So that's what I have to say on that. So my personal experience has been just that, and I'm really honored to be actually in the presence of so many great athletes and personnel here. So just to hear their side of the story, because you learn so many things of what they go through, and I think people really need to look at sports in a positive way. And Sri Lanka being a tourist destination as well, it's a perfect way to market Sri Lanka through sport. Everyone knows Sri Lanka as a cricket playing nation, but no one knows it as rugby or great athletes or swimmers, divers or whatever. So I think the government and the current sports minister, Mr. Namal Rajapaksa, has done a lot towards rugby within the last 5 to 6 years, I must say that. And him coming back into the appointment as the sports minister now, I think things will turn towards something positive, and I'm really hopeful.
Great, Muthu. Inspirational perspective, hopeful future ahead. Thank you for sharing that. My next question, I'd like to direct it to Yashoda and Muthu. Considering contact sports, rugby for obvious reasons, and also diving because of the impact with the water on injury, there could be injuries you may encounter. Be fractured bones, dislocations, sprained ligaments, muscle bruises, just to name a few. This could be looked at or perceived, this could be seen as a hurdle with an element of fear and negative perception. How do you overcome this? Yashoda?
Well, I think in Sri Lanka, for diving especially, we don't have the facilities to train. So when you go on tours, you see how other divers are training and all their facilities, and it's crazy because you haven't even heard about those stuff as divers. So I'm really grateful that I'm here in Australia and training with all these facilities. And you were talking about injuries. Yeah, I have a shoulder injury and a back injury actually, and I'm still coping up with that and doing, because I know I have a lot more to give for this. So yeah. So I'm not saying this in a bad way, but the coaches in Sri Lanka for diving, we don't have coaches who can actually train like all throughout the week. We just have coaches that train like during the weekends or like some days. So like, you know, training here now, I train like almost every day, twice a day. So it's a really tough, it was really tough for me to get into that schedule and start training and, you know, get into that whole thing. And like, now I'm like going for physio. We don't have all of that in Sri Lanka because we don't, like Akalanka said, like for swimming, diving, we don't have sponsorship. We don't have anything. So now that I'm getting sponsored, I get treated for my physio, for my injuries and all of that. So it's really sad that in Sri Lanka we don't have anything. We just train in the pool, and that's about it. No dryland training, nothing else. So like when I came here and like, you know, when I started training, it's just like it was like I was loving it, even though it was so tough. I was loving it because I just felt myself getting better by the day. So it was really great. But you know, there are like really bad stuff that happening in Sri Lanka because, you know, all the small kids don't know how they are doing. And now that I'm training here, I know the techniques are so different. So during this quarantine time, I did a few courses for diving because I really like to start coaching. That's my passion. That's something I really like to do. So yeah, I did a few courses and I learned so much more from that. So yeah, I hopefully I'll be able to be a coach one day and give back what I learned.
That's great. We wish you all the very best on your future endeavors. Just a follow-up question to that. If you do have a passion to learn the sport of diving, what are the available options locally that an individual possibly has?
So I want to come after I'm done with my diving career here. I want to come back to Sri Lanka and open my own academy and bring down the facilities like, you know, from the US. They have all these great mattresses, harness, all of that. So you can actually build up, because the girls and the boys who are diving, they have the talent. They just don't have the facilities to train hard. So yeah, I wish I can do that. That's my point.
All the best on your vision. Muthu, just going back to the original question again.
So rugby and injury is like it comes hand in hand, right? So every time we step on the field, there's a 99% chance of, I would say, risk. Because 2-3 minutes into a game, you can bust an ankle or a knee. That's really the reality of it. But then again, when you compare the infrastructure, like Yashoda said, when you compare it with other countries and in Sri Lanka, rugby players, I think, are really fortunate and blessed because we have grounds and we have the facilities that we can do our basic training and stuff in Sri Lanka. It's just that the nitty-gritty details and the stuff that, because the sport evolves every day, right? So we have to have people who go and get that exposure from other countries and bring that knowledge back to Sri Lanka to pass it on to the younger generation as well. I was fortunate enough to go to Auckland, New Zealand in 2018 and playing one of their team's provincial sides. I learned a lot from there and their mindset of it and how they handle their things when it comes to preparation before matches and stuff. It's just that we need more people, more athletes in Sri Lanka to go and get the same exposure. May it be rugby or swimming or whatever that is. There's an always positive impact when an athlete goes abroad and learns something and comes back. You always see the performances increase, and that's that's just a fact. So I think people should look at sending our athletes abroad and get that exposure and that knowledge base, and to come back and transition it to the younger generation.
Thank you for that open feedback. My next question, I'd like to direct it to Shehan and Shelinda. Despite limited access and restrictions which are imposed on sporting centers as well as gyms due to the virus outbreak, has there been a change in your workout routines and how have you adjusted to it? I'd like to start with Shehan.
Yeah, I think it's better Shelly to answer that question because I'm no longer in the sport now.
Sure.
Yeah. So I think it's better Shelinda answer.
Shelinda, you can take this.
Yeah. So there's a huge difference now because at the start of this year, I ran 11.9 at the International School Athletic Championships. So we were on peak. We trained so hard. We had to go through I think that was the hardest off season that I ever had to go through last year. So we trained really hard for this year because I had a lot of international meets coming and a lot of other meets, and we were preparing. We were already we were prepared for that. But after COVID coming in, I think we lost it, and now it's we are starting from the very, and it's really difficult. It's so much hope. I think most of the other Sri Lankan athletes, seniors, juniors, we were all prepared for this year. And when all this happened, we were on lockdown. We didn't train for, I think we started training, last week only. I went to the track last week. Yeah, it was last week. For the first time after 6 months, I went to Sudharshana Stadium to practices. So everything's changing day by day. Everything's changing, and it's sessions and all. Everything's different now, and we have to start from the very beginning now. So we are still on off season, but there is I'm having another competition on October, so we are preparing ourselves for that. But yes, everything's different now, and it's really hard. It's kind of disappointing because I started the year with 11.9 second run, and then now I don't even think that I'm nowhere close to that. So, but I'm hoping for the best, and I think all of us athletes are hoping for the best. So yes, there's a huge difference when it comes to our workouts. We used to train every day, and twice a day we used to train. We used to have morning practices and then gym sessions in the evening. But now it's all different because we couldn't even go to the gym for the last few months. We were at home. So we need gym sessions as an athlete. I think every sport needs that. So yeah, there's a huge difference, but we are kind of working on it. So hoping for the best.
Thanks, Shelinda. Let's certainly hope for the best. My next question, I'd like to direct it to Hassan. Hassan, I know you touched on sponsorships earlier on as well. So I'll just I'll leverage on my question based on the statement. Lack of money won't stop talent. Showcase of talent will make sponsors come to you. Do not give up. What is your perspective on this statement?
Well, I think that there's two ways of looking at it. I think that yes, yes, sponsors do look for talented people in order to give you sponsorships in exchange for marketing purposes. However, I think that you shouldn't I think that you should also chase after them as well, particularly when you're starting out. I think that that's very important. I think you should have a comprehensive. Luckily for me, my wife is really, really supportive, and she's wonderful. She designs my proposals and website, and helps me with all the admin stuff. And we were able to get sponsorships for my 7 continents goal because it was expensive, and it did require a lot of time and commitment to achieve it. However, I think that there are other ways that you can get sponsorships in terms of just the traditional, because what you have to think of it from their point of view. What do they want? Ideally, they want media coverage, or they want to be represented by someone who's authentic, who's genuine, who's unique. And I think that every athlete has that in them. Has something different. Like if you're a good speaker, if you're good at something else, you can incorporate that into your career. And in order to attract sponsorship deals. And I think that, like I said, especially when you're starting out, it's important to put in the work and look at that side as well. Later on, once you become a little more established, you can get an agent or do something else. Maybe you can even, there are other ways, if you reach a certain level, you can even write a book about your experiences. I'm actually writing a book, and then maybe book sales can keep you going in the future. An audiobook. There are so many ways to look at it in terms of financing your career that you shouldn't look at it in one way of, I achieved something big, therefore everyone should come and sponsor me. Of course, that does happen, and that's important for it to happen because the right people should be rewarded. However, like I said, you gotta put in the work yourself as well sometimes. Particularly if you're an individual athlete. Like I know in team sports, it's different. Sudharshana said, rugby, they're very lucky and fortunate, and that's good. And they put in the work prior, and they deserve it. So does cricket; they deserve it. But for sports that are up and coming, like I suppose adventure marathon running, which is unheard of. Like in Sri Lanka, no one had ever done an Inca Trail marathon or a marathon in Antarctica. No one even thought that you could run there. When I spoke about doing it, everyone was like, "What is this? Like, how is it even possible?" So the kind of, and also if you have a unique selling point, my goal was to become the first Sri Lankan ever to run a marathon on all the 7 continents. That was very unique, and that was kind of like, okay, I'm the first to do something that no one has ever done before. I could use that too as a selling point in order to get sponsorships. And sponsorships also can be in different ways. It doesn't necessarily just have to be financial. It can be product and service. So you can get service sponsorships in terms of maybe a physiotherapy company could sponsor you for free physiotherapy for 1 year. You give them certain things back. A product sponsorship, I was sponsored by Adidas for my goal. They gave me free product, and there are different ways you can look at it. And if you negotiate, and a lot of the panel have said that they've done an education and in Shehan has an MBA as well. So I'm thinking of doing one, and if you have a business education, I think that it can help a lot because you can learn how to construct the financials and the marketing as well. So I think it's important to do that along with obviously the sport should be the priority, and that should be the main thing, that your heart and soul should be into that. You should do it for the right reasons, but it's I think in today's world, it's important to look at both.
Informative and insightful, Hassan. Very relevant in today's context as well, that you touched on the finance aspect. Yeah. Thanks for that perspective. Akalanka, I would like to raise the next question to you. How do you build endurance, stamina, and speed?
Yeah, basically in swimming, what we do is we do distance training. If I tell my plan, on Mondays we do distance training, and on Tuesdays we do dry land plus power training, and Wednesday we call it VO2. That's super lactate set. So, and on Thursdays we do a bit of recovery stuff and all, with stretching, rollers and stuff. And on Fridays we do again dry land and power training, and Saturdays, which is the end of the week of ours, we do super hard sets. So within these we do as swimmers, we don't do much gym training because it's not good for us. Because if our muscles get stiffer, it's not good for us. So what we do is 2 to 3 sessions, gym sessions per week, and we do a lot of as example, I swim 50 kilometers per week, but not during this Corona season. But before that, I was swimming 40 to 50 kilometers per week. So that mileage helps really and with regard to endurance, if we do training for one day, think we are going to training on Monday and we are skipping on Tuesday, and again we are going on Wednesday, so it's hard to maintain that endurance. So to get that endurance back, at least you need to train at least 2 days. So it's better you keep training, and you get the best recovery that you can get, without holding the phone and watching videos. It's better to get some extra sleep, and get some proteins. And protein means I don't take supplements and all for recovery. Especially I take all the foods. So I eat a lot. And to maintain endurance, you need training, food, and recovery. So that's my point. Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you for sharing that perspective, Akalanka. Next question, I'd like to direct it to Muthu. There could be certain limitations in sports-based activities that are practiced at home during the period of COVID. Restrictions in a proper environment, and youth children could be living in apartments with no access to a garden area. How can home be made the home ground with the possible limitations? How do you inspire athletes to be active at home?
Basically, there are several aspects when it comes to fitness, right? So it doesn't mean that you always have to have like a fitness center or a gym that you have to have access to go and train. You can do whatever the movements that you are relatively going to use for your sport at home. I believe that it's just based on your body weight. So we have seen a lot of people doing a lot of bodyweight stuff during COVID, putting up Instagram and TikTok videos and all that. So this is nothing new for us, right? So like there are things you can do to improvise and keep fit and stay active. Or you can get out of your house and run on the road, right? I mean, it's not hard. I'm just saying. So it's what I did when I was locked up inside my house. So I just used to get up and just 5 in the morning, just do a quick run just to keep my cardio up, and come back home. And I had my I just did a few basic movements just to keep the body in check, and my running drills and stuff. So it's about like improvising, and obviously there's a lot of information on the net as well that you can do, because everyone is going through the same situation at the moment. So everyone comes up with new ways to train, and I'm sure all the sports have coaches coming online and getting them information at hand. So I think just basically improvise and do what you need to do just to keep fit. Diet and diet is a major thing, because what I realized was when you're stuck at home, you tend to eat a lot. That's me basically, because you end up going to the fridge and visiting it quite often when you have nothing else to do. So watch your diet. That's a big thing when you're at home and you're not training as hard as you're used to. So the calorie intake needs to be supervised and done accordingly as well.
Good perspective. Thanks, Muthu. Next question I'd like to direct it to Shehan. Right coaching and equipment is needed to accelerate the journey to glory. Middle and low income earners, children, youth have issues on getting the right equipment and coaches. Competition with high income earners arise. What support is out there for young talent facing difficulties in your perspective?
Yeah, it's like this. Now, when it comes to athlete, we are the only sport in Sri Lanka that has won 2 Olympic medals. And when it comes to Asian Games, we are basically winning 90% of the medals have won by athletics. When it comes to South Asian Games, we have won more than 55% of the golds. But being one of the top sports here in Sri Lanka, we have only one synthetic track here in Sri Lanka. So all of us have to go there and train. So let's say if there's a good athlete in Jaffna, he has to come all the way from Jaffna to Colombo just to feel what a synthetic track is. And also I would say that even the equipments and all the facilities are not equally distributed among all the provinces here in Sri Lanka. Yes, we are in Western Province, we are in Colombo, we have almost all the equipments and almost all the facilities. But when it comes to people who are out from Western Province, they have nothing. So what I would say is that even our new sports minister, what he should take into the consideration is that he should look at which sports can be developed and which sports gives you the highest return for your investment, and that's how we should invest as well. And also he should create a platform that where these equipments and facilities distributes equally among all of the athletes here in Sri Lanka. Yes, we are a small nation, but we have produced so many athletes, so many good teams that can be compete against bigger nations. Now, as an example, when I was in Commonwealth Youth Games, I was the only Asian to be in the final, and I could win a gold medal for our country. But then again, I didn't have any facility like what Canada or Australia or any one of them is having. I was motivated by myself, and my parents were spending on me. So basically, I didn't have any support, but I was dedicated, and I actually needed to win it. And according to that, Hassan, about that sponsorships. I would say that when it comes to athlete, we can't go behind a sponsor and ask for a sponsorship. They're going to be managers. That's how it works in the international platform. There are managers for each and every single athlete. Basically, the manager represents you. He goes to the sponsors and he gets a sponsorship for you. But it doesn't happen here in Sri Lanka. Athletes should go behind the sponsors. And also, I'm really glad that what Yashoda said, she'll be coming back to Sri Lanka with all that, things that she's going to gather from over there. That's what needs to be happen. Athletes should be there, like more athletes should be there in sport. They should take more positions as coaches or let's say as strength and conditioning coaches. They should be there. They should be in administration. That's how the sport can be developed. But here in Sri Lanka, it doesn't happen. When it comes to administration, athletes aren't there. Someone else is there. So they don't know about the sport. So I think when it comes to sports, almost all the things are actually corrupted here in Sri Lanka. So everything needs to be corrected. And as Sudharshana said, I would say that, yes, I'm also hopeful that our new minister would do something. He has a great vision. He's young. And I would say if he cannot do if he cannot develop the sport in within this given period of 5 years, the sport cannot be developed again. So this is a great opportunity, and I would say that the equipments and facilities should be, equally distributed among everyone. And also, when it comes to athletics, almost all the athletes are out of Colombo. So there should be a proper system where we can identify the athletes and bring them to Colombo, give them the facilities, give them every arena for our country.
That's great, Shehan. A very visionary perspective that you certainly shared. So we've had a very engaging webinar so far with loads of information, valuable information, insight that has been shared. So unfortunately, we've come towards the latter part of the webinar, and I've got one more question to sum up the webinar, and I'm going to direct it to all panelists. Do you believe there is a bright perspective for the sports industry in Sri Lanka? How would each one of you personally think your field of sport can develop better in a post-COVID-19 era? Concluding remarks, any final advice that you may like to share with the audience that has tuned in? I'd like to start with Akalanka.
Yeah, exactly. So there are a lot of talented kids in Sri Lanka in terms of swimming. Like in my career, I have seen a lot of talented swimmers. So, but as an example, recent South Asian Games, I am very disappointed regarding the management and all, because we were trained as a national team only for 4 days. So, and that's really disappointing. And actually, like, there's no like proper training for us as a national team. We, me, Matthew, Shehan, Kyle, we don't train together. They train USA, Thailand, and I train in Sri Lanka. Not only me, there are like a lot of kids down there who is willing to participate in international competitions, but they have a lot of financial issues and equipment problems. And as Shehan told, like, we don't have much equipment also, and there are like the system is manipulated, to be honest, because like there's a lot of corruption going on. I think this sport can be not only swimming, but also all the sport can be developed if we stop this corruption. And I hope, as everyone told, the new minister, he's very young. If he cannot do this, I don't think again we have a chance. So I think this is the time. This is the time that we should rise, and they should pick up the not only us, the talented young guys also. The girls and boys are really talented, and they should pick up from the rural area. So there was a Aya who is in Polonnaruwa. He was really talented, but like because of the lack of facilities and all, he couldn't get into that level. So I guess if we get more support and more facilities, financial, everything in every perspective, like we have a bright future in sport. Not only from that, the athletes also should be disciplined and focused, and they should have a goal, not only representing the country in Olympics, Asian Games, not only representing that, You should have a bigger goal, like to win a medal. Some people are just want to go and participate. Okay, I participate in Asian Games, Commonwealth Games, and all. At least you should have a target to go to at least to a final. That you have like you should take that lion flag in the podium. So that should be a goal. If not on from that area, the financial, the athletes also should be disciplined and focused. That's my personal perspective.
A very visionary perspective again, and very valuable concluding remarks. Thank you, Akalanka. Next, Shehan, if I may.
Yeah, okay, as the last message, what I want to tell is that as a retired athlete who has been playing for the past 16 years for our country, what I want to tell all our young athletes and all the young athletes who are watching us is that I was playing for our country for 16 years, and that 16 years went like this. It went like, seconds. I still remember the day how I became one of the fastest in the world, or winning gold medals at Commonwealth Games, or even becoming the fastest man in South Asia. So all that time has come to an end now. So what I want to tell you all is that get the maximum use of every single second or every single minute when it comes to training. I know that especially Shelinda, then Yashoda, and all of you are like really talented. So get the maximum use of every training session and give your 100%. And I would say that these are the young prospects that we have. And when it comes to the authorities and administrations, we should take care of these athletes. We should find sponsors for them. We should market them. We should basically build brand personalities. I think all of you are brand personalities for our country. So we should market you all, and we should bring more sponsors to our sports. And I would say that if we can develop sports and if we can develop these young athletes, these are the future for us. And we might be able to, now we have won only 2 Olympic medals, but I believe that there are more medals here in our country. I would say Yashoda can win a medal, then Akalanka, then even rugby, then Shelinda. Almost all of you are like prospective athletes. So I would say that just believe in you. Maybe government or no one is supporting you, but as long as you believe in you and you have the goal of winning a medal for your country, like I did for the past 16 years, you'll be able to do wonders. And especially Yashoda, please come back to our country and give your service. And also, yes, Hassan and Akalanka, you are like one of the top athletes I have ever seen, disciplined top athletes, I would say. So keep up that. Shelinda, also please be have your energy and do something greater. And Sudharshana, I would like to wish all the best our rugby team as well. I would say they're like really protect our athletes, and let's hope for the best in the future.
Thank you. A very bright perspective indeed. Next up, Shelinda.
Yes, so talking about facilities and all, even I would like to point out what Shehan said earlier. So like, it's really hard for us when it comes to a synthetic athletic track, because there are like really talented athletes. I'm in the senior pool. I was in the senior pool, so there's another trial. So we should get selected from that, and they'll be making the senior pool again this in the end of this year. So like I said, like there are really talented athletes. So I've seen athletes, outstation athletes from like different places, and I've seen how hard it is for them to train when it comes to a synthetic track. So we only have Diyagama and Sugadasa Stadium, Mahinda Rajapaksa Stadium. So it's under construction. So when it comes to Sugadasa Stadium, like only the athletes who's in Colombo can only use the track. So there are like many athletes out there who needs this, but who cannot come and practice. So I think we have a new sports minister, so I hope that he would do the best for us. I really hope, because we are in like, we need another synthetic track. Like when it comes to outstation athletes, they really need this more than us, because like all the, like when we take athletics and when we take the sprint events, other than myself and I think 2-3 athletes maybe, other than us, the sprinters, when we take the sprinters, all the sprinters are like outstation um, athletes. So I think they need it more than us. So I'm talking behalf of everyone here. I think the sports minister can do better this time, and we are hoping for the best. So yeah, that's something that we need right now. So yeah.
Thanks, Shelinda, for those insightful concluding remarks that you shared. Muthu?
Yeah, so what I want to say is the talent and the ability of our younger generation and the potential we have in Sri Lanka is enormous. It's just that we need to give them the correct exposure and the infrastructure, right? That's what I truly believe in. Sports in Sri Lanka can reach high levels, and it has gone to very high standards early in the past. It's like some of these panelists said, the politics and the personal agendas some of these officials have in certain organizations when it comes to sports need to be completely wiped out. That's basically it. And priority should be given to the athletes in Sri Lanka so that they can perform. I think equal opportunity should be given to all athletes across the country for them to come forward and express themselves. That's what I truly believe in. And Sri Lanka, I think we have people who are really fearless and courageous, and the mindset of our people should not be questioned at any point. It's just that the exposure and the commitment from the different sporting organizations should be there for the athletes. And lastly, I would just like to say thank you for having me on here and giving me the opportunity to share my thoughts and listen to some of these inspirational people on here as well. I learned a lot from them as well, and to see what they go through in their walks of life and what hardships they have when it comes to their sporting career. So thank you, and I just want to say I'm really appreciative of this opportunity.
That's great, Sudharshana. It's been a privilege to have you on the panel as well.
Firstly, before I give my final closing bits, I just want to say thank you again for having me on this. It's been such an honor to share the room with such amazing people and talented, inspirational leaders of our sporting industry in Sri Lanka. I mean, it's an honor to just be amongst all of you. In terms of what I see for the future, I think that it's very bright, especially with Namal coming in. I think that he's the right man for that position. I think that there's a lot of talent and a lot of potential for Sri Lankan young kids. And if any young kid, for me, I've been fortunate enough to be surrounded by the right people. And I have also been fortunate enough to, when I've reached out for help, I've always gotten it in a good way. For example, when I reached out to Jansen and Johan, who had climbed Everest, and I reached out to them for what to do in Antarctica and all of that, they came to my house. They gave me some of their clothes to take and gear, and it was really wonderful. And the same way, I would like to help any other young kid who wants to do something in adventure marathons, or particularly in that, because that's what I'm specialized in. Reach out to me, reach out to people who have done things that you've done before, and you might be pleasantly surprised at what you get. That's the thing I want to leave you guys. And another thing is just believe in yourself, and go after your goals and dreams, because you have one life, and life is ephemeral. It's short. If you think of it, no matter what religion or race or background you come from, the one thing that you're guaranteed in life is, I guess it's death. I mean, I don't say that to be morbid, but if you think of it that way, then you want to make the most use of your life. So go after what you want. Time is your greatest asset. Don't think the obstacles are challenges, and believe in your why, and I think you can accomplish anything. Yeah.
You've been an inspiration, Hassan. Thank you. And also for anyone that is tuned in, as Hassan said, reach out to him and see how you can collaborate with him. Last but not least, Yashoda, connecting all the way from Melbourne. I believe it's past, it's almost midnight, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like 11:10.
Okay, great. So your concluding remarks?
Yeah, so to talk about diving, actually, diving is not a very famous sport in Sri Lanka. Not much people know about diving. So actually, there's only one person who represented Sri Lanka at the Olympic Games from diving. I just want to be able to work hard, and my goal is also, and my dream is to one day represent Sri Lanka at the Olympic Games. So I'm working really hard towards that. I'm giving it my all, that because I'm here in Australia and I'm training really hard with all these facilities. So yeah, like there are lots of young children in Sri Lanka with great talent, but we just don't have the facility because I once ruptured my eardrum. I have a shoulder injury, and like, because diving is a very risky sort of sport. You never know, like sometimes you can knock your head on the board. Like there are so many things that can happen. So it's all because we don't have the right facilities. So I hope, just like everyone else said, the new minister, Nama Rajapaksa, will take the initiative to not only help with the other sports, but diving as well. So yeah, I'm working really hard, and yeah, I hope that I can achieve my goals one day and come down and one day build an academy and teach the others what I know. So yeah.
That's great. So we all sincerely wish you all the very best, and we all hope for a brighter perspective. Thank you for connecting all the way from Melbourne here. So that pretty much wraps our webinar. I am extremely thankful to the panelists that have tuned in for sharing so much of valuable insight. It has been an absolute inspiration. So that wraps up our webinar. It's been almost a 1.5 hour long webinar, but there's been so much of insight that we've had an engaging audience as well. So that concludes Overcoming Hurdles. On behalf of Chocolate, I would like to thank each one of you again, and I would like to wish you all the very best on the future endeavors that you undertake. I'm Chatush Kadiavis, signing off on behalf of Chocolate. Have a great rest of the evening. God bless you all. Thank you. Bye.